What's up, guys? Welcome back to my live stream. Just let me double check that everything is working fine here before we begin, guys. And I changed my camera, so I need to um, start looking this way instead of that way where it used to be. All right, guys. If you are new to my channel, I'm Jero Serrano, and I develop game engines. And lately, I've been going on YouTube to do some live streams where I where I share everything that I know about game engine development. So if you are a new game engine developer and you want to develop your own, this is the perfect place for you. If you have any questions, if you are a beginner, if you have no idea how to develop your game engine, please feel free to ask your questions in the chat and I'll try to help you out. The only condition is that you have to be a subscriber to the channel before you can actually ask any questions. But aside from that, feel free to ask. And if you don't want to ask anything here, also feel free to join my Discord server, where we have right now 498 indie game engine developers, each of them developing their own game engines. And, in the server, we like to help each other, provide tips, share knowledge, and stuff like that. So, I invite you to join my Discord server. The link to the Discord server is in the description of this video. All right, guys. So, what are we gonna do today? Well, just like I show in the title of this video, I just want to chat, and also fix some GitHub issues that I have, waiting for me in my GitHub page. So, let me share some of the issues that I want to work on today. So we can get started. All right. So let me see if I'm actually sharing my monitor. There you go. Actually, let me make this bigger so you can actually see it. All right. So this is my GitHub page. And before I, work on the issues, let me know if the audio is good. If also the music is fine. I may be too loud. Feel free to let me know. All right. So the issue that I want to work on today is basically this one. I want to actually, you know what? Before I do that, why don't I share with you what I have been working on with the game engine lately? All right. So let me run the engine really quick, and so I can actually show you everything that I have been working on. So for the past 3 live streams that I did last week, I basically added the saving and loading functionality to the game engine, which means that now you can save all of the assets, all of your models that you may have in your scene, and then you can load them back, right? So I basically implemented a factory design pattern that is in charge of creating the instances of every type of models that you have in the scene. And I also implemented a serializer and a deserializer. Basically, the serializer will convert the data of each model into binary format and then save it into a file, and the deserializer will do the reverse, right? We'll convert the binary into the properties of the asset of the model and then just load them back into the scene. So basically, here's the engine, and I'm hoping and share. Yeah, I'm sharing it. All right. So basically, here is my asset pane. I can select the field, and I can select the instance of the type that I want the field to be. In this case, it's gonna be of type field. It's gonna be of type of the class field, right? So I can load it up. And a player, I can select the type of that player, which is going to be player. This is basically what the classes that I have registered through the factory class. Player, boom. And now what's going to happen is that, for example, right, I'm going to rotate the player so you have an idea. What's going to happen is that now I can save, the models, right, into a particular file. So I can save this, select where I want this to be saved, and I'm going to select the under scene file .ufd. So now everything is saved, right? So now if I reset this, and let's say later on you want to keep playing on your game, working on your game, you can simply load all of that data back into the game engine, and you should be ready to go, right? So now this is good. but now there's some stuff that is missing in the editor, right? Uh, Here I have my scene graph, right? Which I'm going to talk about that really soon because you have no idea what that means. But here in the my scene graph, you basically, I will show all of the models that I have added to my scene, right? So now I have added bold field. If I add a bleacher, right, I can, just show it up here, right? Now what this is missing though, is a remove option, right? I can add assets, but I cannot remove them, and that is something that I need to work on. So that's what we are going to do today. That's basically the issue that I want to work on today, and the issue that I was referring to is this one: implement an option to remove the entities through the editor. Obviously, I have implemented it in the code, but now I'm focusing on implementing all of these features through the editor. If you have been following me for a while now, I think I've told you before, yeah, I have said this before, that for the first, 8 years of my game engine, I've mainly focused on making sure that the foundation of my game engine was solid before working on the editor. And I think right now the game engine is quite solid, and that's why I decided to start working on the editor with ImGUI, that will allow a game developer create a game, quite fast or easier, I guess. So let me work on this. Let me select this guy, and let me just mark it as in progress. Boom. And let me double check that I'm actually going through here. And also let me double check that I'm actually, okay, cool. All right, so this is issue 356. Now, if you are a new developer and you have never used Git before, I recommend you to use it. I recommend you to learn Git. It's a version control, basically. It is a godsend tool. Take the time to learn this tool. I know that if you are a new developer, you may be a little bit intimidated to use Git through the terminal, but don't be scared of it. All right, it's quite easy to use, and you can either start using Git through through the terminal or with a GUI. Right now, if you ask me which one should you focus on, it doesn't really matter, right? GUI or terminal. The point is this: you need to use a tool that makes you more efficient, right? That helps you develop faster. 95% of the time, to be honest with you, you are going to use the following commands in GUI, in Git: add, commit, push, and pull. That is it, right? So you can just use the GUI to do all that. Now, there are some instances where knowing how to use a terminal will be beneficial to you. The GUI can only do so much, but through the terminal, if something goes wrong, you can go ahead and fix it, and you'll be okay. So if I were you, start out with the GUI, but make an effort to also learn how to use the GUI through the terminal. It's going to pay off. It will be an investment. All right. So let me clear this, and let me see. Right now I'm in the branch development, but let me do a status. Everything should be clean. So now what I'm gonna do right now is I'm going to create a branch from my development branch. And again, if you are new to go to Git, let me show you how that is done. All right. So I need to create a new branch with the name 356, right? So what I do is Git checkout. Checkout means I'm going to create a new branch, -b, and then issue 356. And what's going to happen is that I'm going to create a branch from my development branch, right? Boom. If I do Git status, if I could get the branch, you're going to see that I'm now in branch 356. I always recommend never to touch your master branch or your development branch. Just leave them how they are, right? Don't mess with them whatsoever. All right, so let me clear this. and we're ready to work on these issues. So now you may be asking yourself, what in the world is a scene graph, right? And let me load this up again because I want to take some 5 to 10 minutes to show you what that is, because it is very important to know what that is, especially if you're a new game engine developer. So here in this pane, I have my assets, right? My models. And if I click here, I'm going to start loading these assets. For example, I loaded the field asset into the game engine, and let me just, right? And if I click on scenegraph, you're going to see that the field model showed up, right? Player can load up player. You're going to see it load up, and you're going to see here, you're going to see that it also shows on the scene graph. Same thing for the ball, etc. Right? Now, why do we need a scene graph, and what's the whole point? Well, basically, a scene graph is a data structure that allows the game engine to traverse through all of the entities in your scene very efficiently. All right. And having said that, let me bring up this little tool so I can explain it to you better. All right. So let me bring this up over here, and hopefully I can use. All right, come on, do this to me now. Let me see if I can actually. Hopefully it doesn't complain. Sometimes it's two complaints. All right, cool. All right, so let me start off by explaining to you the game engine loop. All right, imagine that we have here the clock, right, which will be the game tick, basically the game engine tick, right? And in this game engine loop, we have the rendering system, which is in red, and then the physics system, and then the collision system, right? And imagine this is basically, a clock that will be ticking, right? Now, imagine that you also have some entities, some models in your scene, right? That you are loading into your scene, right? So let's say you have a square, a triangle, a circle, a rectangle, whatever, right? And you want them to be rendered. Well, what's going to happen is that the game engine needs to get a handle of all of these entities, right? So what you would do is that you would basically, let me bring this up over here. You would basically load up all of these entities into a container, right? Now, you may say, well, I can load up all of these containers into an array. If you do that, if you load up these entities into array, please do not do that at all. All right, an array is not a dynamic container. It's a static, right? If you only allocate like if you only allocate your array for 4 elements, that is it. Or you can only load up to 4 elements. And come on, it's a game engine. You want the game developer to load up as many objects as he wishes or she wishes to load. All right. So an array, that's not the way to do it. All right. Don't even think of doing that seriously. The other way that you can do is like, well, if I cannot do an array, then can I do a linked list, which is a dynamic array? In C++, that would be a vector. Yes, you can do that. You can definitely, store your entities into a linked list. But there's a problem with that, right? The problem is that as your number of entities increases, your linked list will also increase, and that traversal speed, right? The speed that the engine will, the time that it will take for your game engine to traverse through all of these entities is going to increase, right? But that's not a problem that you have to worry about. It is a problem, but not the main one. The problem is that there is no parent and child relationship when you use a vector. There's no way that you can say, well, the gun of this character is the child of this, player, for example, of this character, right? There's no way for you to set up that relationship. And whenever you rotate that character, for example, you will have to go through the vector, through the linked list to see which is the child of that character, so you can also rotate the space. And because there's no a quick relationship or like easy established relationship, you are going to take a lot of time doing the traversal and calculating and making sure which is the child, which is the parent, and on and on. So that whenever you rotate the character, you also rotate the gun in this example. So you don't want to use a vector. What you want to use is a data structure called a scene graph. And I have heard, like, some people refer to scene graphs to a different concept in game development, but in this case, it's a data structure, right? And a scene graph is basically a generic tree, right? You know how you have binary tree, that you can only have up to 2 children. Well, a generic tree can have as many children as you wish, right? So basically, imagine it's a tree, right? You can have as many children as you want, right? And the cool thing about this data structure is that the traversal speed is really fast. But more importantly, is that you can easily establish a parent and child relationship, right? So for example, let's say that this guy right here, this node right here, is a character, right? And this node right here is the gun of the character. This is the shield of the character. This is, I don't know, something else that belongs to the character. Another gun, for example. The cool thing is this, that whenever you rotate the character, you have easy access to its children, right? So whenever you rotate the character, you can easily rotate the children of that character, right? So that relationship is makes it ideal for a game engine. And that is definitely the data structure that you want to use. So what are we going to do today in this GitHub issue that I have to fix or implement, right? Is that I'm able to add models, entities into my scene graph, right? As you saw, right? I added a field, a player, the soccer ball, but I'm lacking the functionality to remove those entities through the editor, by using GUI, right? So for example, let's say I want to remove this entity right here, right? I want to be able to select that entity in my scene graph and remove it. So what we're going to do is basically something like that, right? I'm going to run the engine again. Whenever I have my, let me load up. So let's say I want to remove my player, right? I want to have a button somewhere, which I have to look for it. I think I'm gonna add it here. A button that will remove that entity from my scene graph. So basically, it will no longer show up here. So where are we going to add this? I think I'm going to add that into here, my entity properties. Add it here, and that will remove it. So it's a simple issue. I don't think it's going to take long to fix, but I wanted to take some time and basically, explain to you what is a scene graph and why you should never, ever use an array, why you shouldn't use vectors as the containers for your entities. Don't do that, as this is the data structure that you want to use. And if you want to know how to implement them, well, guess what? My game engine is open source, so you are free to go ahead and learn from it, right? And if you go to this folder called a tree, you will have access to my to how I implemented the scene graph. I used a lot of templates, obviously, but basically you can just go through it and see how it was implemented. Obviously, the implementation is not mine. I actually read a book, a really good book, which I'm going to provide a link in the description below, that explains to you how to develop a scene graph. And the author, he was kind enough to provide the source code. And what I did here was just to to apply it to my case and make it a lot simpler to use. And that's about it. All right, guys. So let's get working, guys. Let me get rid of this, and let me get some water too. All right. So as I mentioned, what I'm going to do. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, so as I mentioned, what I'm going to do, we are going to add a remove option here, all right? So let me see where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to my for the editor pass, which should be here. Let me see, let me look for that section actually. Save entities. Gravity script. Properties, scene property. I think this is where I show entities property. Yep, this is where I show it. All right, cool. Now let's add a separator. That's what we need. So let me copy this line of code. I want to add a separator here, and man, interesting. If child is not no pointer. So I think that should be the one. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna add a separator here, and that's where we're going to add another button. So let me do that. If GUI button, and let me just call it remove entity. Let me see if actually I want to make sure that I am within the scope of the if statement. I haven't quite figured out how to make sure that I'm within the scope of a long if statements in Xcode, so forgive me for that. But if you know, let me know. So, all right, so that I built. I don't think I ran it. Okay, cool. Let me run this. So let me just add a particular entity here. So that loaded up. Let me select this and remove entity. Boom, that should be that one. All right, so whenever I click this button, what I want to do, I want to remove it, and that's about it. So what we are going to do. But to do that, we need to get different pointers, some pointers. So I can see that I have pointers to my scene. Let me see what else do I have over here, because I should also have a pointers to my world, because that's where I'm adding it. Okay, so I do have my scene, I have my world. Let me see something really cool. I do have it. Okay, cool. Oh, I need to look for the parent of that actually. Okay, so it should not be just the world. Let me go into the world and see what do I have here. Yeah, because what I want to get is the parent of that guy before I remove it. Okay, so let's do something like this, guys. It should be very simple to do. What I need to do is get my. I need to get my world. No, not my world. I need to get the parent of that entity that I'm trying to remove. Um, okay. So let's see. Where's my entity? Let's get my entity. Active child. Okay. All right, cool. All right. Now, one thing that I'm going to share with you guys is that whenever you're doing a live stream and you're trying to code, um, your brain can go blank. Number one, because you have this fear that not fear, but you know that people are looking at you, and that can get you very nervous, and sometimes your mind goes really blank, and that is something that happens to me quite often. But I'm trying to work over that. So that's why I also want to do live streams. Aside from wanting to share with you everything that I know about game engine development, I want to get over that issue that whenever I'm like in interviews, for example, my mind tend to go blank, or if I know people are watching me doing some coding, even though I know what I'm doing, it tends to go blank. And I figured that the only way to get over that is to actually practice, right? So let me, that's why I'm doing this. Entity, parent, and what I'm going to do now is that the active child is what I want to work on. Active child, get parent. That should give me the parent of my active child. And then what I need to do, I needed to get my parent, right, and say remove child, active child, boom. And then what I need to do is delete it, right? Because I don't want that guy to be here. I don't want the pointer to be, just roaming around. I delete the active child, and then what I want to do, active child, set it to no pointer. So that should fix it. All right, that should be it. So I get my parent, remove child, and that is it. Now, one thing that I need to double check is that what if happens if that child I want to remove has any children. I believe I fixed that. Remove child to the node. Interesting. So can actually, let me see, active child. I can actually say remove all children, because that should actually remove all children from that. Okay. So if my active child has any children, then I will remove all of the children. But then that's going to create a problem because I also need to make sure that I'm deleting those children. Okay. Or I can say something like this. Remove and delete all children. That's what I think I need to do. Remove and delete all children from that active child. All right. The problem, I may not be able to test that right now. All right. So actually, before I forget, this is something I also like to do. Before I forget, whenever I come across new issues, I like to log them right away. Add the functionality to specify parent-children relationship in the editor. Right now I can do that through code, but again, you don't want to give the game developer the option to actually specify that this entity is the child of this parent, right? Of this other entity. So it's going to be an enhancement. And obviously I'm going to do this as a live stream. Lately I've been doing this just to, if the issue is very simple to do, I'm doing it a live stream. If it's not, I'm just doing it. I do it when whenever I have some time. And it's simply because sometimes when you're doing a live stream and you work on very complex issues, you don't have you cannot focus, right? Because you want to talk to the chat as you're working on that issue. So that's why I tend to divide my issues. Actually, if I show you all of my issues, you will see that some of them have live streams as tags. Others do not. Okay, so now let's see if this works. All right. All right, so I hope it doesn't crash. That's what I'm hoping it won't do. All right, so let me select field here, load assets, player. Let me select the class for this one, player, load asset, boom. And let me select this one, opposite player. All right, cool. So now let me select the scene graph and let's say I want to remove the opposite player, which is gonna be this guy right here, the one with the Argentina uniform. So let me see, remove player. Oh my gosh, everything got removed. Interesting. Let's see what's happening. All right, let me put a breakpoint here. I wonder why that happened. So let me go again. Field, load model, player, load model. This one, boom. All right, so let me select my opposite player. And now I'm gonna do remove entities, and that should take me, should do a breakpoint, basically, right? And my parent should be my world, right? Sandbox edit world, that's the one. Oh, this is the problem. So since my parent is my world, right? And what I'm doing here is that, hold on, by my active child is that one, which should be, oh, we removed it. Delete that active child, that was deleted. And active child is no pointer. Why did it remove everything from my scene graph then? Huh, interesting. Let's see. Remove child parent. This is gonna be interesting. Welcome to the problems of a developer. Sometimes we think something's gonna work and it turns out that nope, it won't work. You probably did not take into account something else. Okay, so let me just add this. Remove player, remove entity. Hold on, that one worked. What? Load asset. Let me add the bow again. Okay, let me select opposite player, remove entity. Let's see. Okay, let me do one more test. Let me see. Let me see the problem here. Let's see the problem. Let's investigate the problem. So let me load them up again. Player, boom, boom, ball. All right, so let me select the last one, which is the ball. All right, now remove the entity. That one is gone. Let me select the field now. Remove entity, and that one is gone. Now opposite player. Remove entity, and that one is gone. Remove entity, and that one is gone. All right, let's see if I select one. Huh. I think, oh, you know what? I think that I'm forgetting to remove, am I even calling the delete, I think I'm calling the destructor for this guys, and that's probably the problem. That is why. You know what's happening? I am not calling the destructor of the U4D model. I'm calling the destructor of the U4D entity. So what I need to do basically is I need to do a dynamic cast here. Yep, I need to do a dynamic cast. Now, you should never do dynamic cast. You know, in something like as a game engine, especially. Let me say that again. You should never do a dynamic cast on entities that are, for example, constantly being called. Like for example, in the update functions, you do not want to constantly do that cast on them. But in this case, right, since you are not going to be doing dynamic cast during every tick, then it is okay. You're only going to do a dynamic cast when you want to remove them, right? So that issue is okay. There's no problem with that. But you do not want to use a dynamic cast when operations are constantly being called. All right. So let me do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do U for the model here, and then I'm just going to do a dynamic cast. U for the model, boom, on my active child. All right. So then what I'm going to delete is my model. Boom. All right. And what's going to happen is when I do the delete of the model, this constructor is going to be called, which is what wasn't being called in the first place. That's why I was getting errors. All right, so now it should be. Hey, by the way, if you have any questions on game engine development, please feel free to ask. I'm here to help you develop your game engine. So, and if you don't want to ask me right now, you can join my Discord server or you can go to my website, heroserrano.com, and have tons of articles and videos that will help you out. Actually, let me go over there to my website so you can actually check it out. Here I have, I usually post my latest video, either if it's the latest uploaded video or my latest live stream. And you can also go here under learn and you will have access to all of my articles that I have on game engine development. Hopefully they can help you. I have beginner level, game engine algorithms, etc. And if you want to know the books that help me develop a game engine and you want to get them, here I list the books that will help you get started. These books right here. And if you want a comprehensive list of books that I used, then I also share that with you, which is all of this. So feel free to check them out. And again, if you go to my blog here, you will actually get access to all of my live streams and videos and articles. If you want to learn more about my game engine, which is called Untold Engine, feel free to go here, and I will basically tell you everything, the latest releases, etc. of my game engine. So feel free to check them out. All right, so let's go back to the engine and hopefully this works. All right, so let's see, models, field, let's add this, ball, player 0, opposite player. All right, so now that we have this, let me select my opposite player. If I click here, that should work. And well, it didn't work because it went to my breakpoint. That's what we were expecting it to do. And now everything got deleted. Why? Why did that happen, my friend? Why? All right. Let me remove this for a second. Let me remove that just for 1 second. All right, so let's see. Test number like 20. Player 0, boom. All right, so let's remove them one by one. Remove, that one is gone. That one is gone. That one is gone. All right, so let me add them again. But all right, so let me remove them randomly. Remove entity. Yes, opposite player. So it seems to be working now. Now the problem that I'm curious now is the fact that my active child, and whenever I say active child and say remove and delete all children, I wonder why am I removing everything. If child is equal to break. I may have to look into this and make sure that nothing is broken here, which I think it is. Remove and delete. Okay, let me go into this for 1 second and see what's happening. Because what should happen is that Oh, you know what? Yes, it's gonna break it. This is something that I did not take into account. Ideally, if I load these players, we obviously know that none of this happened. Oh my gosh, what did I do? Ha, shouldn't be able to add two. Okay, ideally, if I select these players to remove them, we know for a fact that they don't have any children associated with them, right? So for example, if I select opposite player and I remove the entity, we should never ever ever get here, right? But it seems that we are, and it seems to me that the problem, yep. Let me do that again. Seems to me is that I am not checking for my children at all here. I'm not checking if that node has any children whatsoever, and that could be the problem. All right, so let me do this again. Opposite player load asset, player loaded, ball loaded, and the field loaded again. All right, so now let me select opposite player and remove the entity. Render. Okay. I think this is something that I want to need to look into. Yes. Because even though I don't have any children, I'm still messing up with the pointers here. So let me create another GitHub issue. I need to look into this. Need to look into and delete all children method. If the entity has no children, the pointers are all getting corrupted, such as next, previous sibling, and last descendant. See, whenever I call my remove and delete all children, right, I am not checking if this node has any children, but I'm not doing that. But more than that is that I'm coming here and messing up with the pointers of that node, right? So and that is making the engine go nuts. I should guard this, and say, okay, only if this is a parent, if the entity is a parent, then we can do that, right? So that's what we need to do. You need to check if the entity is a parent before processing or executing the method, right? So something as simple as, yes, check if it's a parent, right? I need to say, okay, is this a parent? Then go for it. If it's not, then don't do that. Ignore it. That's all what I have to do basically here. But obviously I don't want to mess this up here. But I will leave this here. here until the issue is fixed. Don't forget to remove the comment that code in line 450 and U for the error path. All right, that should do it. Cool. Now this is a bug, and yes, let's do this as a live stream. Should be simple enough to fix. Issue 359. Now something that I also do is that whenever I find a new issue, I don't try to fix that issue in the current branch that I'm working on. I usually create a new GitHub issue. That makes everything more manageable and a lot cleaner. You definitely do not want to go through your commits and have different fixes all happening in the same commit. It's one issue per commit, right? One fix per commit. That's how you should work. Yes, you may say, well, I'm creating too many branches. Yes, but it's going to keep your code very clean. So that's something that you should do. All right. So now, obviously, if I don't call that function, then everything should works fine. But I do need to add this particular code in line 450, because what if my node that I want to remove, is a parent of and has children? So I need to make sure that the children are also removed and deleted. Or else they're going to be just floating around and leaking memory basically. So player 0, load this, opposite player load it, field bleacher load. Did I add the field by the way? Oh, I didn't. Alright, load it, boom, there you go. And now let's see if this works. Bleacher, remove entity, boom. Player, remove entity, that should work. Field. Oh, I have two, look at that. Remove entity and that should break it, because I added two entities with the same name and the game engine doesn't like that. So that was expected. All right, guys, let's see. How long have I been live, guys? Because I usually like to go live for 1 hour. So, I hope you guys learned something today. It's already 11. Let me see something. Cool. All right, guys. I hope you guys learned something today. I hope you learned what is a scenegraph and why you should implement it in your game engine. And I hope you learn also how I use Git and GitHub to go through some issues and fix them. This issue seems to be fixed now. I need to fix issue 359 before I go ahead and remove that comment that I left here. But basically this is fixed, right? So good. Now I'm able to remove the entities. Wednesday, I'm going to go live again and work on some other issues that I have to work on. Probably I'll work on this one, on issue 359. It should be very simple to fix. And then other issues along with them, with this issue. All right, guys. Again, don't forget to join my Discord server. If you are a novice game engine developer or if you have experience, you are more than welcome to join. Don't forget to click this to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also click that like button, smash it, right? And also share this live stream if you want to. And I'm going to archive this live stream on my website. So whenever you want to watch it, feel free to go and watch it. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you Wednesday around this time, like around 11 p.m. So thank you.